extremely rocky for the Mudville Nine that day, and the score stood 4-6 with but an inning left to play. A straggling few got up to go, leaving the rest with the hope that springs eternal from within the human breast, for they thought if only Casey could get a whack at that, they'd put up even money with Casey at the bat. Well, Flynn preceded Casey, and likewise so did Blake. And the former was a puddin', and the latter was a fake, so on that stricken multitude the death-like silence sat, for there seemed but little chance of Casey getting to the bat. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and the much despised Blakey tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had settled and they saw what had occurred, with Blake a hugging second, and Flynn was hugging third. And from that gladdened multitude went up a joyous yell. They struck upon the mountain top and landed in the dale. They struck upon the hillside and rebounded to the flat for Casey. Mighty Casey was advancing to the bat. There were ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing and a smile on Casey's face, and when responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat. Not a stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat. 10,000 eyes were on him. He wrapped his hands in dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded as he wiped them on his shirt. And as the riffing pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance gleamed from Casey's eye. A sneer curled Casey's lip. Close by the sturdy batsman, the ball unheeded sped. "It ain't my style," said Casey. "Strike one," the umpire said. From the bleachers black with people there came a sullen roar, like the beating of the storm waves on a stern and distant shore. "Kill him, kill the umpire," someone shouted from the stand. And like as not they'd done it, had not Casey raised his hand. With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage showed. He stilled the rising tumult, and he bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and again the spheroid flew, but Casey just ignored it. And the umpire said, "Strike two." "Fraud," yelled the maddened thousands, and the echo answered, "Fraud." But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed. They saw his face grow cold and stern. They saw his muscles strain. They knew that Casey would not let that ball go by again. The smile is gone from Casey's lip. His teeth are clenched with hate. He pounds with cruel violence his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go. And now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Well, somewhere in this favored land the sun is shining bright, and somewhere men are laughing, somewhere hearts are light. Somewhere the band is playing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey is struck out. That's part one. There's more.
We learned this one just so we could have it.
There were saddened hearts in Mudville for a week or even more. There were murder oaths and curses. Every fan in town was sore. Just think, said one, how soft it looked with Casey at the bat, and then to think he'd go and pull a bush league trick like that. All his past fame was forgotten. He was now a hopeless shine. They call him Strikeout Casey from the mayor down the line. And as he came to bat each day, his bosom heaved a sigh, for a look of hopeless fury shone in mighty Casey's eye. The lane is long, someone has said, that never turns again, and fate, though fickle, often gives another chance to men. And Casey smiled. His rugged face no longer wore a frown, for the pitcher who had started all the trouble came to town. All Mudville had assembled. 10,000 fans had come to see the twirler who had put Big Casey on the bum. And when he stepped into the box, the multitude went wild. He doffed his cap in proud disdain, but Casey only smiled. "Play ball," the umpire's voice rang out, and then the game began, but in that throng of thousands there was not a single fan that thought that Mudville had a chance. And with the setting sun, their hopes sank low. The rival team was leading 4-1. The last half of the ninth came round with no change in the score. And when the first man hit safe, the crowd began to roar. The din increased. The echo of 10,000 shouts was heard when the pitcher hit the second and gave 4 balls to the third. 3 men on base, nobody out, 3 runs to tie the game. A triple meant the highest niche in Mudville's Hall of Fame. But there the rally ended and the gloom was deep as night when the 4th fouled out the catcher and the 5th flew out to right. And from that, a muttered groan ran through the crowd. A scowl was on each face when Casey walked up, bat in hand, and slowly took his place. His bloodshot eyes and fury gleamed, his teeth were clenched as hate. He gives his cap a vicious hook and pounds upon the plate. But fame is fleeting as the wind and glory fades away. There were no wild and woolly cheers and glad acclaim that day. They hissed and groaned and hooted as they clamored, strike him out. But Casey gave no outward sign that he had heard this shout. The pitcher smiled and cut one loose across the plate it spread. Another hiss, another groan, strike 1, the umpire said. Zip like a shot, the second curve broke just below the knee. The umpire, strike 2, the umpire roared aloud, but Casey made no plea. No roasting for the umpire now. His was an easy lot. And here the pitcher whirled again. Was that a rifle shot? A whack, a crack, and out through space the leather pellet flew. A blot against the distant sky, a speck against the blue. Above the fence in center field in rapid whirling flight, the black grew dim. The sphere sailed on, the black grew dim, and then was lost to sight. 10,000 hats were thrown in air. 10,000 threw a fit, but no one ever found the ball the mighty Casey hit. Well, somewhere in this favored land, dark clouds may hide the sun, and somewhere bands no longer play and children have no fun. And somewhere over blighted lives there hangs the heavy pall. But Mudville hearts are happy now because Casey had